All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are taking a deep dive into an absolute bona fide phenomenon. We're unpacking the critically acclaimed new Apple TV Plus series, Widow's Bay. If you've been hearing the incredible buzz but haven't watched it yet, or actually scratch that, even if you're already caught up and just want to untangle its crazy, intricate lore, you are in exactly the right place. We've gathered all the reviews, the episode breakdowns, and the fiercest internet discourse to build a clear picture of why this show is completely dominating the cultural conversation right now. Okay, let's dive into this. 100%. Right out of the gate, Widow's Bay pulled off something that is incredibly rare, a flawless 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. In today's highly fractured media landscape, achieving a verified cultural consensus like this is practically impossible. Critics and audiences are entirely unified here. It instantly establishes the show's prestige and tells us we're dealing with a truly masterfully crafted piece of television. But how do you even categorize a show like this? Well, listen to this quote from Lucy Mangan at The Guardian. She hits the nail on the head, describing it as Mayor of Easttown meets Schitt's Creek, but with something else that makes it singular. I really want to anchor that word in your mind. Singular. It's completely uncategorizable. It's juggling this small-town quirkiness with intense, traumatic horror, and balancing those two wild extremes is exactly what makes Widow's Bay so intoxicating. Section 1. Thesis. A hilarious workplace comedy. The comedic tone here is definitely no accident. The show was created by Katie Dippold, who cut her teeth writing for Parks and Recreation, and she brings that exact brilliant sensibility of municipal microdramas straight to Widow's Bay. You've got Matthew Rhys playing Mayor Tom Loftus, and he is just delivering top-notch physical comedy. He is this well-meaning guy literally just trying to modernize the town by doing something as mundane as installing a cappuccino machine, only to be met with fierce resistance from these eccentric, deeply stubborn townspeople who want everything to stay exactly the same. It really grounds the show in recognizable, hilarious frustration. Section 2. Antithesis, a terrifying horror show. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer scale of the island's cursed history. It is staggering. This isn't just a basic haunting. It is a centuries-long timeline of terror. Back in 1702, the town founder, Richard Warren, made a literal demonic pact to save his starving settlement. Fast forward to the 1980s, and the town is being terrorized by a masked slasher known as the Boogeyman. And now, in 2026, poor Mayor Tom Loftus is just trying to boost tourism, completely unaware that he's stepping into a deeply entrenched, blood-soaked, supernatural trap. The atmosphere is heavily reinforced by the show's incredible score, composed by David Fleming. Look at tracks like The Sea Hag, Beneath the Floorboards, and Memento Mori. They brilliantly illustrate the lurking macabre elements without us even needing a complex explanation. Just reading these titles, you can practically feel that creeping, Lovecraftian dread bubbling right up beneath the surface of this supposedly charming New England island. And this is where those two genres, the comedy and the horror, collide spectacularly. The show reaches this absolute peak of dark, absurd humor when Mayor Tom Loftus actually has to sit down and negotiate with Richard Warren. Now keep in mind, Tom is still coming down from an incredibly potent accidental mushroom trip, and he's suddenly face-to-face with the 300-year-old undead town founder who was buried alive centuries ago. It's a completely ridiculous, yet incredibly tense diplomatic meeting with an immortal colonizer. This leads to a desperate, high-stakes nautical battle to finally lift the curse. Tom and the crotchety local mariner, Wick, execute this wild plan. Step 1. Dig up Warren's coffin. Step 2. Get the undead founder onto a boat. Step 3. Sail him past the island's supernatural dead zone boundary. And Step 4. Let the curse finally break, turning him to dust. But of course, the immortal founder changes his mind mid-journey, leading to a brutal and hilarious fistfight on a dinghy in the middle of a supernatural fog. You literally can't look away. While the mayor is out at sea, the horror ramps all the way out back on land. We get this full-blown Michael Myers-esque slasher sequence. The mayor's incredibly neurotic aide, Patricia, finds herself hunted by the resurrected 1980s Boogeyman. And what makes this so captivating is just how grounded her response is. She's fighting an immortal killer, and all she has is a taser with a dangerously low battery. She ultimately has to use a puddle of gasoline and a convenience store shotgun to reduce him to ashes. It's intense, it's triumphant, and it is absolutely thrilling television. Section 3. Synthesis. The burden of history. The New York Times perfectly described the island as a human Galapagos. Because of the curse, the island is entirely cut off from modern conveniences like Silverception. People still use corded phones. The gas station looks like it's straight out of the 1980s. But this isolated environment where preserved antiquity is a dangerous curse rather than a quaint charm is the direct byproduct of that demonic pact. So the town's charming aesthetic, it's actually a suffocating prison. So the crucial point here is that this curse isn't just municipal, it's deeply personal. We discover that Tom's fight to save the town is rooted in tragedy. We learn through these heartbreaking hidden letters that Tom's late wife didn't just die of natural causes. The island's dark influence literally drove her insane. She wrote these terrifying letters to their son saying, "I'm already dead." It adds an immense, heavy emotional weight to the supernatural horror that anchors the entire series. This dynamic is beautifully summarized by James Poniewazek of the New York Times, who noted, "Your history keeps coming at you even after you've killed it with magic, fire, and buckshot." The core tension of the show is between the preservationists, who are terrified of change, and a mayor who is desperately fighting to escape a literal and metaphorical stagnation. It really forces us to ask how we deal with the buried secrets of our ancestors.
Section 4. Taking over the internet.
The fan base for this show is so engaged that the lore is already expanding into other formats. There's actually an Audible audiobook out now called Resting Witchface. It follows an ex-journalist who moves to Widow's Bay and gets wrapped up in this cozy, magical murder mystery. The fact that the universe is already successfully expanding into publishing proves just how much viewers want to spend time in this strange, cursed town. Let's move to and see how this built into a wider cultural conversation. On Reddit right now, there is a fierce, ongoing debate comparing Widow's Bay to another hit horror series, From. While From relies heavily on slow burn, high-concept mystery boxes that leave little breadcrumbs for the audience, Widow's Bay gives you fast-paced answers. It resolves major plot lines quickly, like the whole undead founder situation, and replaces them with totally new terrors, all while maintaining that razor-sharp comedic edge. And perhaps the most impressive feat is highlighted by Rolling Stone. They note that the show scratches the itch that Castle Rock couldn't seem to reach, yet isn't interested in IP fanfiction. Think about it. In an era absolutely dominated by reboots, spin-offs, and massive established franchises, Widow's Bay is a massive success as a completely original story. It stands entirely on its own merits, proving, for sure, that audiences are still super hungry for wildly inventive, original television. Which leaves us with a profound question drawn directly from the show's core conflict. Is the past a treasure to preserve or a monster to escape? Widow's Bay forces its characters to confront this every single day, seamlessly blending the laughs of a sitcom with the thrills of a slasher to create an absolute masterpiece. If you haven't started streaming it yet, consider this your official sign to dive in. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next deep dive.